I'm going to tell you about the time I represented a buyer that did not pay for the home that they closed on. So the year is 2020. And like many agents, I'm having a very successful year. Shutdown brought very low interest rates. And so we know the story, yada, yada. A lot of business owners did very well that year as well. So I am celebrating my birthday, or I'm preparing to celebrate my birthday early. I'm going out of town to just have a little bit of time off because I have 18-hour days that I'm working during this time. I loved it. I missed that, but that's what the reality was at the time. And I'm preparing to go out of town, get a call, got a cash buyer that's interested in a home in my neighborhood, which I'm trying to become the neighborhood realtor of. And he's already identified a home. Cool. Bam, boom. Happens more often than you think. Having a cash buyer, having someone with a home already identified. And even if you don't already know them, it is very common to get a buyer who's ready to go and just needs representation. So I check his proof of funds, shows his account has well over 300,000. And this is not a red flag for me because cash buyers are very common. I had just closed a couple of months before on a listing where a young lady's parents and I represented the seller were helping her to purchase a home where she was having trouble getting the funding. They just gave her the cash and we closed, boom, bam. So typically with a cash sale, depending on the situation, you can close on that deal in under 10 days. It can go very, very quickly. So from the time I go out of town and we did a showing, I think the day before I left, and then by the time I got back, which was only a 3 or 4, maybe 5 day trip, we have gone through the process and he is closing. We did this in about a week. And so when we made the offer, we had some back and forth. Really, the sellers got exactly what they were asking for. It was 2020. Even with him being a cash buyer, we didn't have much negotiation room, but he was good with it. He wanted the house. Okay, cool. So the seller, I need to add, is also a real estate agent. No big deal, not a big part of the story, but just to put some things into perspective. So while I'm out of town, I have someone to take the buyer to their inspections. They pay for their inspections. Their grandmother comes to the inspections and their daughter picks out a room. Okay, put a pin in that. And so we go through the process. There's no appraisal involved because he's a cash buyer. And so when I get back in town, we close on the property. I have a photo of me and that person at the title company with their closing gift after they've signed papers. So remember, this is during shutdown. So I wasn't allowed to necessarily be in the room with them. Plus, it was a cash sale. So it was going to go really quick. I just met them right after their closing to congratulate them and thank them. Well, maybe an hour or so later after leaving, the title company calls me and they're like, "Hey, we still haven't funded this deal." And I'm like, "Oh, really? What's going on?" And they're like, "They haven't wired the funds yet." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, let me give them a call. I'm sure there's just some misunderstanding." So, long story short, we go back and forth. The buyer is saying that they are having trouble with their bank. The bank is not, they put a freeze on the funds, yada, yada, yada. If you've seen Tisa Risa, her story that was really popular like last year or the year before, it was a very, very similar situation where there's just all these, oh, it's this, it's that. Now, mind you, the bank's not going to talk to us, they're not going to give us the information. And so it got to the point a few days later. So we're out of contract at this point, but the sellers want to close on their home, right? Because they're trying to move on to something else. We got to the point where I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna meet you at the bank when they open. I'm here in their parking lot. Like, are you showing up?" Wasn't showing up. It was the weirdest thing. So then they start taking it out on me as if it's my fault they didn't pay for the home. So the sellers are like, "We're gonna sue you, me, and we're trying to figure out what's going on." And I'm like, "Look, I don't know what's going on either. Trust me, I wanted to close on this house just like you. I promise you that." And I'm being super apologetic to them. It was obvious that they were not moving on and they were going to hold his earnest money. put a pin in that too. So I'm like, listen, I feel terrible. I don't know why this has happened. You and I both saw the proof of funds. I will hold your home open for you, like whatever you want me to do. The seller was an agent. The wife was an agent. The husband was not. He was the one talking on the phone with me. He was very authoritative, and very rude. But I understand he was pissed, and I would be too, right? But at this point, like he wants to know the guy's name, this and that. And I really don't have a choice but to cooperate because well, I mean, he already knew the name, it was on the contract, but I'm trying to work with them because I want to see if I can bring this back together. But at some point it was like very obvious that something weird was going on. Now, what I've never figured out to this day is what was his end game. Because the title company was never going to record your title, and until it's actually funded, you don't own the home. So I've never understood till this day what was the end game of pretending like you were buying the house. I mean, to the point where you're even at the title company and sign the paperwork. I have a picture with the person. So anyway, it just was really weird. So remember I said they got an inspection and their grandmother came and their daughter picked the room and blah blah blah. Well, come to find out, I didn't know this until months later because my inspection company didn't tell me, which I mean, that's technically their client too. Why would they tell me about their finances? So we're at another inspection, and my inspector kind of leans over to me and was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, this person's check bounced." And I'm like, "So you mean to tell me that you guys really never got your money for conducting the inspection?" And they're like, "No, it bounced." And I was like, "Okay, I got to tell you something. They ended up not closing on the home, so you probably not getting that money." Oh, and reverse back to the earnest money. Remember that? Oh, they're not going to get that back. They did a little swoop-de-whoop switcheroo with that as well. The earnest money never technically got paid. Something happened with this earnest money too, and because the process went so quickly, the title company didn't even get a chance to inform me of this. They were more worried about funding the home, and it was a lot of moving parts at once all coming out. So anyway, I did never get to sell the home in my neighborhood. I did not get my commission from conducting the sale, and those sellers actually ended up not selling that home for a couple of years. They took it off the market. I think things might have fallen through with the home they were buying, and I felt really really bad. um I actually ended up connecting with that agent later on, and she's actually in a different relationship, recently got engaged, happy for her. And it just is crazy how many lives them that person not closing on their home and whatever weird game they were pulling, they affected. So the inspection company didn't get paid, the title company. And you got to remember, like, a lot of these inspectors are just local general contractors that are running a business. I'm not sure the details of that realtor and their family, but it obviously affected them to where they weren't able to move on to their next step for a few years. And I just never understood their game. They were never going to get to own the home. And it was just weird how far they were willing to take their lie or their scam for no gain at all. Like they didn't come out with anything. So anyway, that's the story of. I'm not sure what the lesson would be there. I guess now when I see proof of funds, I need to see that they're from the last 30 days. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what can I do? Maybe the letter from the bank was fake, like in Tisa Risa's story. So, anyway, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sorry how long this story is. Watch it on 2 times speed. And I'll see you in the next story time.